Hey there, folks. It's Jimmy Stewart here, hoping this is finding you all doing well. Well, today's video, we're going to go back to the classic vintage Guitar Week series that I've been doing. And if you haven't been aware of those, there is 12 of them currently out. And this will be volume or episode or number 13, good old lucky 13. And good old lucky 13 is going to be kind of, you may say it's not classic vintage. And I would tend to disagree with you only because it is in my book. And I'm talking about this guy right here. So this is an Epiphone EJ160E limited edition John Lennon signature. Now these were produced by Epiphone. From what I can find out, it's kind of sketchy here. And again, if you guys know the exact dates, let me know down in the comments here. But I'm thinking it was around 2005 to around 2010. I know they stopped making them after 2010. This is an 07 version, and this is based on the 62 J-160 that John and George both purchased in 1962. And they had a music company in England import those two guitars for them because they could not buy those in Europe or in Great Britain during the time frame. So they had to have them imported from the States. And it took a couple months to get them. Brian actually did a co-signing thing for those so they could buy those guitars on time, I guess it was. And so both those guitars arrived, and they picked them up on September 11th, I believe it was, in 1962. And I did find a couple of pictures you can take a look at here of when they kind of posed with the guitars when they picked them up. Again, the Beatles weren't as famous as they ended up being. They were just starting to break the famous mark. I think they were getting pretty famous in England, but it had not broken in the States yet. Again, remember this was 1962. So this guitar is based on that. And I know it's a John Lennon signature model. George did not get one, poor George, but they both ended up with one of these guitars. Now, here's the funny story, or sad story, depending on which way you want to look at it, on those guitars. Now, when they received them, they both had their own serial number. They both had their own import papers, obviously, and one was to go to George and one was to go to John. Now, sometime after they received those guitars, as they were doing their shows and doing their gigs and going into the studio, inadvertently those guitars got swapped. So for some reason, John ended up with George's guitar and George ended up with John's guitar. Not a big deal. Neither one of them knew the difference, I guess. But in December of 1963, John's guitar, which was actually George's, was stolen from backstage at a show. And that was in December of 63, I believe. So that guitar was gone. John ended up having to replace it, and he did replace it in 1964 with another guitar. Now, that guitar did resurface not that long ago, a few years ago. I think it was 2015, 2016. It resurfaced, and it actually sold at auction for $2.4 million, which was the highest price paid for a guitar up to that point. That's since been surpassed by the Stratocaster from Pink Floyd, from David Gilmour. That guitar has now sold for more than that amount. But at that point, it was the highest price ever paid for guitar. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around how a stolen guitar can be sold at auction and somebody profits from that. I'm sure the guy that bought it didn't realize it was stolen, and there's a whole big story about that I'm not going to get into. But anyway, it did get sold, and from what I've read, some of that money did go to the Lennon Foundation, as some of the money that these guitars, when you bought one of these from Epiphone, they donated some of the money in the price of these to the Lennon Foundation as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And these were running $550, $600. I bought this brand new in 2007. I think I paid around $600, somewhere around there. So again, these were based on that 62 that John and George both bought back in 1962. Now, there's differences in these guitars. I know it's based on and it's John Lennon's signature type model, but there's a couple of differences, obviously. These 62 models were actually laminate guitars. They didn't have a solid spruce top like this one has, and they didn't have the select mahogany sides and back and mahogany neck. They were laminate guitars, which was interesting, but that's how they were built back then. They had a P90 up here uncovered. This is more of a P100. It's a kind of a stacked humbucker that they have in them now with the tone and volume controls down there. But that original 62, those guitars, those J160s, were designed by Gibson and built by Gibson, and they came out, I think, in '54. It was only their second attempt at an acoustic electric like this. So, pretty unique guitar, based on a large dreadnought type body. They had a sloped shoulder like this, as it's called. Again, the pickup built right into it like this with a single volume and tone control. These new ones, like I said, although this is an earlier version of the John Lennon signature, these stopped around 2010. I know this gets a little confusing, and now Epiphone has come out with another limited edition, although it's not a signature model. It's just a limited edition the EJ160E. That is now back to the initial scale of the 62, which was a short scale. It was a 24/7/5 scale. This is a 25/5, and now the newer versions are back to a 24/7/5. Epiphone got a little weird with their limited editions here, but this is the John Lennon. That's the differences basically from the ones that you might be able to still get now. I'm not sure. They are not the signature editions. They are limited edition EJ160, but they have different knobs now. The back is different. You won't see that dividing piece down here. It's just a solid back. I believe it's still select mahogany back and sides. I believe it's also still a solid spruce top. This has the rosewood inverted bridge, compensated bone nut and bridge here. Again, the P100, kind of a stacked mini humbucker. And there we have it. So we will take a close-up look at this guitar. We'll do the close-up video, and I'll show you and go over some of the differences between this particular John Lennon signature model, limited edition, the 1962 version of this, which was a laminate wood model, the actual J160 from Gibson, and the newer version of the limited edition of this, that's not the John Lennon signature model, but it's a shorter scale like the J160 from Gibson was, and it has a couple of differences as I was just explaining. So let's have a look at that, folks. So here's the up close and personal on the Epiphone EJ160E. This is the limited edition John Lennon signature model that they came out with around 2005, I'm thinking. I'm not quite positive if that's the actual year they came out with, and I'm pretty sure they stopped around 2010. It has a rosewood fretboard as we go up, that distinguished Epiphone headstock with the tulip style keys there, trapezoid fretboard markers as you go down. This is 20 medium frets. This particular model, as you can see inside the sound hole, has the caricature and the John Lennon signature. This has a compensated bone bridge and nut on that rosewood bridge there. Bindings on both front and back and up and down the headstock. You also have that split binding along the back, kind of splitting that back up. Again, these are select maple sides and back,
different than the original 62 from Gibson, which was a laminate back and sides with a laminate top as well. This actually has a solid spruce top. You can see here from the sticker, this is the Indonesian model that Samick made in South Korea. Again, this is an '07. You can see those vintage style tulipped tuners with their 18:1 gear ratios. They're very nice tuners actually on here. You got the dovetail joint there that John used to talk about. And these are actually solid nickel strap pins. And they have a small piece of felt that actually moves them right into the side of the guitar, so the metal is not hitting, the felt is actually hitting. Your gold top tuners there, the volume and tone control. This has a stacked P100, it's like a mini humbucker pickup mounted right underneath the fretboard there. And the newer version of this guitar will have a big plastic E on the pickguard. This is the 25/5 scale. The original 62 Gibson was a 24/7/5 scale, and the newer versions of this, they're not the John Lennon signature, but they are the Epiphone limited edition, has gone back to that 24/7/5 scale. Beautiful sunburst finish on these. They're almost like a cherry burst, which gives you that VC designation on the serial number as well.
Okay, so we had a look at that. Let's have a listen to this. Now this is considered a full dreadnought. It's got kind of, they have that sloped body look to it. And it sounds pretty good. I like the sound of this guitar. Something you can strum up. I suppose as a John Lennon signature model, I should try to do some Beatles things on here. You know what? Everybody knows I'm a big Beatles fan, but you got to be extremely careful on YouTube. So I don't want to go off anybody's restricted areas here. Do stuff like that. Oh, well, wait a second. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I think it's up here somewhere. And George's. Okay, you know. Oh, let's plug it in and see what we got here too. So it sounds pretty nice, nice and full as an acoustic. And sounds pretty nice, plugged in as well. So I like this guitar. Again, I've used it for a couple of different recordings before. I don't play it that often, but what's nice on this particular guitar is that, different than the 62s, when John Lennon and George Harrison bought these, those were laminate-based guitars. They had laminate sides and top. This has got a solid spruce top, choice mahogany or selected mahogany back and sides, a mahogany neck, rosewood fretboard, rosewood bridge. Just nice guitars. Again, this scale is a 25.5. The original was a 24.75, and the newer versions of this that are not the John Lennon signatures but the new limited edition Epiphones have gone back to that proper scaling. It's got medium frets on it, 20 frets. It is a compensated bone saddle and nut. The old vintage style tulip tuners that work very, very well. They're actually very nice. Even solid nickel strap holders, and I showed you on the up close video, they even have the felt on those tips so that the felt hits against the guitar instead of the actual metal, which I thought was, pretty cool touch. And then you've got your John Lennon signature and caricature on the label inside here, along with the signature up here on this. So cool guitars. Currently these are getting a bit ridiculous, I think. I looked on Reverb last night when I was deciding whether I wanted to, whether this was going to be the next video or not. And I was a bit surprised. Like I said, I paid around between $550 and $600, I think, for this guitar, brand new in 2007. I saw 3 of these on Reverb, and the least expensive one was $1,150 plus $100 and something shipping. So, you know, they've increased in price. I'm not sure if it's because it's the signature model or not. I'm assuming it is. I know a lot of people aren't, you know, particularly fond of signature guitars. I mean, whatever. But this was one of the ones that I wanted to have, only because I wanted that vibe of the early Beatles stuff. And it was as close as I could get without really spending the $2 or $3 grand to get a J-160. So there it is. It is the Epiphone J-160E. This is the replica of the John Lennon 62 J-160 from Gibson. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, folks. Not too long. Just wanted to get this guitar out there and show it to you a little bit. And I realize it may not be a true vintage and or a true classic, but it kind of is. It is a vintage in that it is replicating a 62. This is only a 2007, so it's only 14 years old now, I guess, right? Yeah, 14 years old. And, you know, it is kind of a classic because it is a John Lennon signature. It is a limited edition model. It is no longer available. So, you know, if you use your imagination, it's a vintage classic. It's in the series anyway, so. It is episode number 13. I appreciate you stopping in today, folks. If you have not checked out the other episodes, please do so. Just check out the links here on the page. There's 12 other episodes of that, beginning with the 54 Les Paul Jr. So take a look at those if you get the chance. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping in today. Thank you so much for subscribing. And as I usually say, if you haven't subscribed yet, or if you're still on the fence, come on over to the good side. Would love to have you on board. It's Jimmy Stewart saying so long for now, folks. Take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. And we'll talk to you all again very soon. Bye-bye for now.